Welcome back to Straight Facts on the Wednesday with man like Big Steve. How are you, my friend?
Very good, mate. Very good. You? Bit bored, no football, but we're getting there.
I'm actually enjoying the evenings where I don't have to worry about. I cover so many games. It's unbelievable. Yeah. It's really nice having some evenings off. I can't lie. But we've got the last 2 months of this season are going to be fire. We're jumping into that today. Is it Arsenal's title to lose with this 8-point gap? Will Man City drag it back? We're looking at the Haaland injury. Is it real? Is it mind games? Is it worry from Man City to be without him for any period of time? We're talking Jude Bellingham to Man United or City. Will it be a battle of the red and the blue half of Manchester? United's takeover on the agenda as well. And we are going to have a debate today, ladies and gentlemen. Who would you sign for your club at their peak? Ozil, who is retired today, and KDB. ESPN started this conversation. We are going to finish it off today. But no better place to start than in Manchester, but with the takeover. Final bids are expected to go in today by 9 p.m. There's a lot of confidence coming out of Qatar. They think they're going to be able to bid enough, around sort of $5.5 billion, plus a promise of around $2 billion of investment into the football club, stadia, players, training facilities. Where's your head with this now? I know you know a lot of people in Manchester. Obviously, you live there. You're quite ahead round there as well. Is it sounding up north like a takeover is more likely now than investment, or is it still very 50-50?
No, I think the way the Glazers have priced it, it can go two ways. If you don't want to pay what they want, then I think there'll be a percentage for sale of the club. If you do pay what they want, which is probably overpriced, then you'll get full control of the club. I think you're looking at the Qataris. I don't think paying overprice is a problem for them. But when you've got to look at the infrastructure that they want to build, maybe redevelop Old Trafford, training ground, invest in the squad, it's not just the price of buying the club. There's a lot more that you need to pump in, obviously. And let's not get it right. United's had a lot pumped in the last few years on the playing side. So I don't know where it's at. I mean, I don't really pay too much attention to it. I think a lot of Man United supporters prefer the Qatari bid. I think this thing's coming out about Sir Jim Ratcliffe saying he might saddle the club with a little bit more debt and things like that. So you don't really want to go down that road, but it is what it is. Look, you know, growing up in Manchester with Man United being as powerful as they was, to see them how they have been in the last few years, it's been a shit show over there. So, you know, for my friends and for my Man United guys that go to the games week in who I speak to, and they're telling me about Old Trafford fucking piss running down the stairs and all that, that needs to stop, man, because it's not Man United, is it? But listen, I'm sure we'll all know soon enough, but it is what it is, you know what I mean? It is what it is. There's nothing anyone can do about it. Just embrace it. The one thing I will say, I get a lot of United fans messaging me saying, oh, when Qatar's take over, you're finished and all that. Listen, Manchester City ain't standing still. Chelsea ain't standing still. Arsenal ain't standing still. No one's standing still. Instead of coming with all this nonsense about, you know, the money, you've had the money. Just embrace it. Get the plumbing fixed, yeah? Get a new training ground, and we'll see where we are.
Listen, I echo that. City are going nowhere. The only way City maybe go somewhere in terms of a way is if these allegations labelled against you for cheating, if they're upheld and you're banned and it all goes through and you can't buy players for years or you get relegated. I'm just spitballing here. That's the only way City go away. Win or lose this title race this year, City go big in the summer, City sign players, City are still going to be here. This Man United and Arsenal may be involved in title races, but City are just not, in my opinion, while Pep is here at the very least, are not just going to fall away and become an also run. There is some breaking news just out, actually, that Ineos and Sir Jim Ratcliffe are submitting an improved bid for Manchester United tonight. But the Sheikh from Qatar will be making a world record bid to buy Manchester United this evening before the deadline. The funds are all in place for this as well now. So, look, it's heating up. It's going to be very, very intriguing to see what happens. And look, things like the stadium leaking, though, and the toilets breaking down in the grounds, the lack of training facilities. This stuff impacts what happens on the football pitch from the point of view of seriousness, and whatever industry you've worked in, like you run a business, and you'll know if you go to meet somebody new that's a printer, someone's going to print some of your merchandise. If you turn up and they've got a leaky roof and staff are misbehaving, the owners are never in, you never get emails back on time from them, there's lots of things that are shoddy. That's going to put you off wanting to work with them, or it's going to make you think these are a bunch of cowboys. That happens internally inside football clubs with players. No wonder Newcastle improved so quickly. They were making their professional footballers take ice baths in paddling pools from Argos. So you imagine you sign and you don't see any of this, that your first day in training right to the ice bath boys, and they blow up these little $10.99 paddling pools and make you sit outside and do it. Straight away, your first thought is going to be, this is not a serious club. So how serious do I have to be if they're making us do ice baths in paddling pools? And I think that is the area that I think a lot of rivals are ignoring. So for me, I'm excited. I can't wait. And we'll see what these bids look like tonight. But I'm not really worried about how much it costs, because it's actually irrelevant whether we get sold for 3 billion or 7 billion.
Yeah. As supporters, you're not bankers. You don't care. You just want your club back. You want to be able to compete in the transfer market, and you want all the facilities to be up there with the best in the world. And I'm sure if the Qataris take it over, they're not going to pin the name to something like that without it improving. So I probably expect the Qataris to do it, get over the line, and start moving it on. But it's not going to be a quick fix. There's a lot of problems around Old Trafford. The training ground is substandard to other Premier League clubs, and like you say, they've got a lot of work to do. But I'm sure they've got the money to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I think when people are reading the headlines, they say, "Oh, United ain't worth 7 billion." It's going to cost about 5 to 5.5 billion to buy the club, which some would say is above the market value. I disagree, because what they're looking to do is expand the stadium, improve the training facilities. They will then go out there and they'll do what City have done brilliantly. They're going to buy up. They will end up buying other football clubs around the world. They're going to create a network. They're then going to increase the revenues through sponsorships, and they want to get the club back to winning major trophies. In 10 years' time, 15 years' time, the club will grow in its valuation.
But be careful doing that, Terry, because Man City's done that, and apparently there's no way we can turn over what we turn over, even though we own 14 clubs around the world, all these champions and that, won the league how many times, you know what I mean? Champions League, late stages, all the money that's coming in. But apparently when City do it, it's not allowed.
No, listen, I hear you, mate. And and I've already seen the bitterness towards us already. United ain't worth that. Says who? Says who? You? Like, who? What? Like, people are literally like talking about what Man United isn't worth. They don't even know what a bond is. They don't even understand the financial language. These
Terry, in Manchester, there's a lot of people in Manchester now that have got to hide or go back on their Twitter history and delete messages because they've been labelling Manchester City an oil club. You're only built on oil. You couldn't do it without oil and this, that, and the other. Well, Man United couldn't win the league for the last 10 years, but if they win it in a few years' time, it'll be because of oil, won't it?
Well, this is one of the reasons why I never attacked City for being a checkbook club or a checkbook manager, or slagged off Chelsea for having Roman's money, is because before you two, the Liverpools and the Blackburns and the like, and the Newcastle said that United and Fergie only used to win because we had more money than them. Now, our money came through it was because of the global fan base and the size of the club and the commerciality. But the end result was still the same. You're only beating us because you have more money. And my take was always very simple. It's because we've been more successful in the lot. It's not our fault we have more fans and we can afford to do this. Be as successful. If Arsenal were as successful as Man United, for as long as Man United, you would have as big a fan base as we do and have the money that we do. It's all fair in love and war. And at the end of the day, now with FFP in place, it isn't like when Roman took over and he can just spend whatever he wants. It has to go through club turnover. And listen, I think you guys being charged the way you have done, it's a bad thing if it turns out you've been lying. But if you can prove, which you're going to have to do now, that everything you're doing is above board, once that's proven in a not directly in a court of law, but proved by the arbitration, there's no more accusations that can be laid at you. And that's why City have stated that they're annoyed it's happened, but they welcome it because they're going to be able to prove themselves. And as you say, you'll never find tweets like that from me because I've never put down your success to just spending money, because you have to spend it wisely. You have to be run well. You have to bring in the right manager. That element can't just be put down to where you've got more money than us, because, look how much money. I think Spurs have spent nearly £2 billion in Premier League history, and they have 2 League Cups. That's it for it. So it's not just about spending money. It's about running it correctly. But there we go. It'll be interesting when it happens. I'm sure there'll be a lot of salt thrown towards Man United. But personally, I couldn't care less. I care more about the Glazers going, and I'm very, very happy, very, very happy indeed that they will. In terms of transfers, though, that can change, there's the player I wanted to ask you about, Jude Bellingham. You've got Liverpool fans now. I don't know. Have you seen the Red Men TV rant?
No.
Those guys are normally very PR based when it comes to Liverpool, and they will always toe the party line. If they miss out on an expensive player, they'll talk about how it's too much money, we shouldn't spend it. But they're ranting the other way now. They're like, it's a disgrace that we're moaning about the Jude Bellingham price. We've always known how expensive he was, but now we're trying to sort of take the moral high ground on this deal. But it looks like City are the front runners for him. But there has been some reports in the last few days that United are confident with the takeover happening that they could challenge you for him. First of all, is Jude Bellingham a player that you would want at City? Do you see him fitting into the way you play, into your system? Is it someone you want, or would you rather look elsewhere?
No, I think everyone's seen how he performed in the Euros, and obviously was the last one, World Cup? Sorry, performed in the World Cup, and he's a great talent. I think everyone's in for him. I think he fits in well with us. We're going to lose Gundogan. We're going to lose probably Bernardo Silva. So we are in the market for a midfielder. With Rodri holding, if he was to play in that midfield with De Bruyne and be that driving force, I think it'll work. From what I'm told, I had a bet with Chris Khan, because Chris Khan said the Bellingham deal was done. I said, according to what I know from the people at my club, it ain't done. And one of the factors that I got told was that Dortmund wanted the money up front because they've lost Haaland and Bellingham in the last 2 seasons. They need money for a rebuild, so they're asking for the money up front. I don't think Liverpool can pay it up front. They wanted to pay it in instalments. City can pay it up front, but so can Man United. So could probably Chelsea. But I don't know. I think what I'm hearing at City is we're definitely in for him. 100%. We are interested. I know we spoke to his dad. Liverpool think because his dad's a Liverpool fan and he's been to a concert and Nando's with a couple of Liverpool players, he's going to sign for them. But I think overall it'd be down to Jude, and I think it's who sells him the project the most. A, where he's going to play. B, how important to the team is he going to be, and C, he's got to be, he's got to be made comfortable there. I just think Liverpool, if they miss out on the Champions League, and they want to sign Bellingham. Yeah, he might be the main man over there, but who else? They need more than Bellingham. They need 5 or 6 for me. Whereas we City get Bellingham in, we could probably just go with Bellingham. You know what I mean? Get Bellingham in, we could probably just go next season with him. But United, new money, maybe a statement signing from the Qataris. So you wouldn't argue if he went to United.
Yeah, I see it being that way as well. I mean, Grizz actually messaged me about 2 weeks ago when the Bellingham Liverpool stuff really picked up pace, and that was mainly 1 second here. That was mainly because of the picture he posted of him and his father, and he had the number 7 on his shirt, and they're just beating a 7-0. And the Grizz messaged me saying the apologies need to be nice and loud. We've got him, and I just sort of responded with, congrats, great signing. Yeah, a lot of people are going to have to say sorry that didn't think you were going to get him. You fast forward, and a lot of the journalists are still saying that Liverpool are in for him. They haven't completely pulled out. But my view is Liverpool have laid that foundation of we probably don't have the money. They will definitely come out FSG and talk about the energy crisis, food shortages, the recessions, and how it's irresponsible to spend like this. Blah, blah, blah. Not like they're giving that money to the local community to help them, but they're just not going to spend it on a football player. That's just sour grapes, and it's planting that seed to say that, we're too honourable to spend like this. Let's let City and United and Real Madrid be a disgrace to football. But I think it's wearing thin with Liverpool fans now. But I think you're more likely than us. I'm not even totally sold on him being exactly what we need. He's more of an attacking midfielder than he is a holder or a dictator of play. And we've got Bruno, we've got Eriksen, and we're probably going to sign Sabitzer, who are all better when they're further forward. I'm not suggesting that they're all better than Jude Bellingham, but we have 3 players in that area. We need more of a controlling midfield player, more of a Declan Rice, more of a Casado, more of a Frankie de Jong would be obviously the number one choice. I really think that's where we need to focus for midfield as opposed to Jude Bellingham. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Sheikh comes in and to really create those ripples goes boom, Harry Kane, boom, Jude Bellingham, because a lot of new owners have done that. And the lucky thing for Man United is these guys would come in and clear the debt. And if there's no debt, no dividends payments, plus they inject the maximum they can of self-investment, which is about 100 million, we'd probably have a transfer kitty in summer one of anywhere between 400 to 500 million pounds, which without even being anywhere near FFP problems. So yeah, I think we could do it, but I do think City. I do think you lot will get him. Personally, I think it will be City where he goes. If I'm being honest, I just think we'll focus on some other areas. If we went toe to toe with you as well, we've got a chance of signing him over you. Of course we do, but I think he'll end up.
Don't forget as well, Terry. There's a downside to being owned by Qatar. Same as City. Transfer negotiations are different. They're different because they know you've got the money, so you can't come with a cap in hand trying to black Weghorst for 3 million on a loan or something like that, trying to get Bellingham for that. They're going to say, look, well, we'll just set a bidding war. You look at Man City over the last few years, how many deals they've walked away from, and the fans have been disappointed. But they've stuck to the guns and said, no, it's not. Cucurella deal, for example, we had a fee that we thought was acceptable for him. Chelsea blew us out the water. City walked away. We've done it with a few things, Maguire apparently, and Alexis Sanchez and things like that. United are going to have to keep the same stance. They can't go in willy-nilly like they have done over the years and just outbid everyone and ended up with egg on the face. These Qatari people ain't stupid. So they'll know that if they're going to get played, they'll know if people are going to inflate it. They'll just have to stick to the guns. And you will probably miss out on targets, but you can't go into meltdown of it. It's a business at the end of the day. It's got to be viable. It's like with City fans, the younger ones, they go into a meltdown. We should have just paid the extra this. It don't work like that. Because if you break the wage structure for one guy, you've got Kevin De Bruyne knocking on the door next week saying, hold on a minute, what have you paid him there? Well, I've been here, I want that. Or you've got, Haaland wanting more money. So it's a very fine line. I think United will make some signings of intent. I do think Harry Kane is a massive possibility. I think his time at Tottenham, he's in a dead end. There's nothing going for him there. He's one of the best strikers in the world. He needs to move to get trophies. It sort of reminds me of the Van Persie thing where Van Persie was itching for that title and left Arsenal and got it at United. I can see that. Osimhen's going to be difficult because Napoli are not the easiest team in the world to do business with. They're gangsters, man. And they won't be having it. They won't be having it. And they can make it difficult. I watched a documentary on Sky about agents and that Fabian Ruiz, they were willing to let him sit in the youth team for 2 years. Napoli, rather than just out of spite, because that's just how they are. Man City and Napoli haven't got a good relationship anyway. We don't deal with them over the Jorginho thing. So I don't know. It's all pie in the sky, but it is what it is.
It's going to be an exciting summer. Arsenal in for big players, Champions League money, because whether they win the league or not, they're in the Champions League. So that money is going to, financially, there's not that big a difference between coming first and second. They're going to be in that market. City are going to spend big. United with new owners. Newcastle, you would imagine, are going to have some type of European football to offer. They're going to spend. So, yeah, it's going to be an exciting time. And I think what you said there about Harry Kane, you're right. It's a massive possibility that he comes to United. It keeps getting played down by journalists, and I respect that they're only telling us what they're told. And, that he still might sign a new deal at Spurs. He could do that. But I just think when these new owners arrive and the knocking on the door comes, I don't believe that Kane is as married to Spurs as the kind of PR makes out. No. He tried to leave. I think he stayed to a point where he thought, I want to try and win something. It didn't work out. As you know, he tried to get to City, but the business between City's owners and Levy, it just didn't go according to plan. There was bids made. This guy, there was a big story that Spurs spun that he didn't turn up for preseason training. But this was all revealed, but it really went under the radar because people love to attack Harry Kane. The reason Harry Kane didn't return for preseason is because he'd already said goodbye to everybody at the club. He went and visited sort of because this is important to a lot of the footballers, the people in the laundry rooms and the telephone offices and the people that make the lunches, the chefs and the cooks, the people that Harry Kane would have grown up knowing. And I remember watching Rio do a documentary when he went back to Old Trafford about 5 years after he left, and he knew everybody by name in all the different little departments of the club. He went around Harry Kane and said bye to all these people. He said bye to a lot of the first team players because Spurs told him that they would let him go and they would sell him in the summer. And I think that shows me he's not married to the club. Yes, he stayed, but he stayed because of necessity. He wants to break that Premier League record. He's never going Arsenal. You guys don't have the room for him anymore. Liverpool have just gone and bought 2 strikers, so he isn't going there. I don't think business would happen between them and Chelsea. So he's left with Man United. And I just don't believe that he's as married to the club as everybody makes out. And the only way he stays, in my opinion, is if he just lacks the bottle now to take that risk of going to another club to try and win a trophy and just thinks, you know what? I'm going to stay here and become a Spurs legend. I'm not going to rock the apple cart. But I don't know if he's doing that out of pure love for Spurs, as more, I'm worried about leaving because it might not work out. And that's a very different thing, in my opinion. But I think Harry Kane's a massive possibility for United. There's no doubt. No doubt. Viewers, make sure you're doing me a favor and hitting the like button. Make sure you're subscribing to the Football Terrace as well. Very, very important to us that you do that and you get that done. On Tottenham, Steve, I did want to ask you, what was your take on what Conte did at the weekend?
It's a shit show over there, man. Tottenham, it's a shit show. There's a mentality issue there. Mourinho's been there, couldn't do it. They've had managers queuing up there. It's just a mess, man. And when he's coming out saying that, it's bad. It's bad. And, I did the Big Six for a long time with Toby. And I left the Big Six a long time ago, and I went back the other night for a one-off show, and Toby's in the exact depressed stage of life that I left him in. There's no change. I left him in a dressing gown and a pina colada, and I returned and he had a dressing gown and a pina colada. The guy's on skid row, man. Tottenham fans are on skid row in life. And then Conte coming out saying that's disrespectful. It's questioning the mentality of the club, mentality of the board. You can tell that Conte does not want to be there. He just wants to be as far away from that place as he can. It stinks. And I don't know where Tottenham go from there. I don't know if a manager can fix it. I don't know if it's a whole change of board, whole change of atmosphere around the place. I don't know. But, I mean, you wouldn't want to be a Tottenham fan now. Anytime, would you, to be honest? Let's have it right. The Expression's fucked off to Dubai. He was playing with camels in the desert the other day rather than go to the game. So it's peak, man. It's peak for Spurs. And yeah, I'm getting depressed now even talking about Tottenham. So can we move on?
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel sorry for some Spurs fans I know who don't deserve this because they call out the right things. They demand the right standards. But most Tottenham fans I enjoy laughing at in these circumstances because the way they talk to the other members of the top 6 and banter us and rip into us and they slag you lot off for how much money you spend.
They always beat us. Yeah. We go every year. Tottenham away is a loss. Liverpool away is a loss for me. I write that off beginning of the season. So they can talk to me because they beat us. But when it mattered in the Carabao Cup final, they didn't beat us. But Terry, it's bad over there, man. Bad.
Yeah, it's terrible. But I thought what Conte did, I watched it back again since, and everything he says is true. But he should not be the person out there saying that. It's crazy. And what I really like, though, is all the Spurs fans that have been backing in this. It's not Conte. It's not Conte. It's the owners. It's the owners. And I get it's partly the owners, but he's also partly responsible. And the way I would love to have been a fly on the wall, just looking at their faces as he was saying all of that, because there's no doubt about it now. The man's been sabotaging things. He wants his little payout. He's essentially been sacked already. A lot of journalists have told me this privately, been told that he's not wanted at the club. They're just trying to come to an agreement on severance pay because there's a clause in his contract that means if he gets sacked before the end of his deal, he has to be paid out £5 to £7 million. And obviously in 2 months, he leaves for nothing. So the club's kind of deliberating whether they pay him that money or not. But essentially, he's done. He's a bit like Poch last year at PSG. He's a dead man walking. They don't want to continue his job. You're over and done with. But they're just waiting for the right time to do it, I suppose. But the right time for Tottenham's owners is always going to be related to money. But There we go. Viewers, any thoughts and feelings on that? Let us know now. Any questions you've got for Steve or myself, please feel free to send them in. Of course, we'll prioritize our members and our super chatters when it comes down to that. Hello, Leng and Sour. Is that what you call him, Leng and Sweet now? You call him Leng and Sour in the comment section. Man like Prime, hope you're good. He says Spurs are good, but never good enough. That is true. That's very, very true indeed. Patrick, absolutely. Yeah, we have Patrick and Jules on our show. They definitely both deserve it because they're too much talk against rivals all year. Speaking of rival talk, is Haaland really injured?
I think, to be honest, what I'm saying, what they're saying down here in the Manchester Evening News, and that is that he had a bit of a tweak against Burnley. He's gone out on international duty. They've assessed him. He's still feeling it, so they've as a precaution, they're sending him back to Manchester. But I think he's in Marbella at the minute having a rest. But they don't want to risk him if he's got a bit of if he's feeling his groin. The last thing he needs is 2 games when he's got this running coming up. So he's probably thought, you know what, I'm not risking it. Whether that's club over country, because they are important games for Norway. So I get the Norwegian fans feeling a bit disgruntled, but no, I don't think it's as bad as they seem. The people around the club are saying it's not. It's just precautionary. So I'm not overly worried by it.
Yeah, I mean, we saw the kind of, for me, some City fans have taken this as a dig, and I'm like, you didn't listen to everything that I said, but Man United did this so regularly in tight, close, hard title fights. The amount of time Scholes and Rooney,
all the time.
Rooney a little bit, but not so much Rooney, but Scholes and Giggs are 2 that really stand out to me of players who would consistently be pulled out of international duty as an example. And that's because, I said this to City fans, it's because there is a fear. And the fear is that without Haaland, if that tweak turns into a serious injury and he misses the next 4 weeks, I just don't think without Haaland, you can win the league this year. And I know a lot of City fans say, well, we won it without him last year and the year before that. But I don't think you're the same City team this year. You've been adapting how you play football. So
we'd have to change. We'd have to change the system and play false 9 because Alvarez isn't that guy up front yet. He's young. He's hungry. He's coming on, chipping in with goals at the minute. But the way we're playing at the minute, Terry, is unreal. You know what I mean? We're just getting going. The chances that we're creating in the last 6 or 7 games compared to what we're creating in the middle of the season is massive. And we just look on it. And Haaland is the man. You know what I mean? He's on it. He's improving all the time. He's starting to get involved in the game more. But I think Thierry Henry said something the other day which really hit home. He said when he was at Arsenal, he was always moaning about people not passing him the ball. He said Arsene Wenger sat him down and said, hold on a minute. It's all right you making these runs, but not every player can find you with that ball. They've not got it in him. So he said, if Dennis Bergkamp had the ball and Thierry Henry made this run, he knew Dennis Bergkamp could find him. He said, if Pires had the ball, he knew that Pires couldn't make that ball because it wasn't in his game. So he knew, for example, if Pires had the ball, he had to go short. If Bergkamp had the ball, he could spin off. And he said if Freddie Ljungberg had the ball, he had to drop deep because he wanted it into his feet. And that is exactly what happens at City with Haaland, because we're seeing these fantastic runs, but Rodri's got the ball. So Rodri can't do what De Bruyne did against Burnley the other day and put that ball behind that defender and then for Alvarez to run in. And Mahrez, Haaland's running near post. Mahrez is cutting inside. Yeah. Jack Grealish is bringing it back inside, but Haaland's already gone. So what Thierry Henry said is what he has to do is he has to know the players. So he knows that when De Bruyne gets the ball, he can make that run because De Bruyne will find him. He knows that when Grealish gets the ball, he's got to drop off a little bit, and he's starting to do that. And it made a lot of sense because we watch football with our eyes and we see this great run, but then we realise that that player on the ball probably can't do that pass. Yeah. And Haaland's now learning about his teammates, and Henry just hit the nail on the head for me because I've been critical of it. I've seen him do a run and I've gone, fucking hell, why have you not passed? And then I've realised it's Rodri. So Rodri's not going to make that 30-yard defence splitting pass. Do you know what I mean? But De Bruyne can. So, listen, he's growing as a player at Man City. He's doing really well at the minute. We definitely won't win the league if he's injured. I guarantee you that. We need him back from international duty, April the 1st, Liverpool, we need him for the run.
Mate, 110%. And again, a lot of people don't. I don't think it's that people don't listen. It's almost people now when it comes to football analysis want you to say the most beautiful, like the most extremely nice things about their football club, or they switch off. Of course, you've won the league without him before, but you've changed how you play. And if he suddenly drops out, you're not the same team without him as you are with him right here in the here and now. And I don't think he's injured to a degree to miss games at all. I think it's more the case of let's make sure it doesn't become a worse injury. Man United have done the exact same thing with Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford, for me, could play for England over this next 2 weeks. But Man United, there's no doubt in my mind that Ten Hag or somebody official at United has got into his ear and said, listen, I know you want to play for England. I know you've just got back into the team, but we really need you. If Rashford gets injured in this international break and misses 4 or 5 weeks, we may miss out on top 4. We may fall out of the Europa League and or the FA Cup as well. We need his presence. He's been so potent since the return of football. He's been so good this year. We need him. And I don't think that's a strange thing at all. And, you know, I think the advantage Arsenal have got is that their goals, they're not overly reliant on one person to score their goals. I think both our teams have become a little bit like that this year, even though you've scored lots of goals in the last few games. And the fear of Rashford or Haaland being out injured is very detrimental to our side. If Saka picks up an injury, it's bad for Arsenal. But I don't think it would stop them as much as it may stop you or it may stop Manchester United. But even then, Saliba's pulled out of international duty because there's a slight problem with him and they want him to get some rest. So, yeah, look, I think it's the right thing for City to have done. You know, keep him fresh, get him raring to go. And do you sort of feel like when it all returns and you guys come back, that first game back against Liverpool, how confident are you about winning that game?
Yeah, if we get everybody back fit, I think we've got... And do you know what? There's no better game to go into because it's going to be fire from the off. We need that intensity. We need to keep that intensity. If we turn up in that game and we're not ready, Liverpool could catch us cold. But I think the rhythm we've got at the minute, and I always say it in every title run, the rhythm is important. The rhythm we've got at the minute, Ruben Diaz back at the back, we're looking strong. Haaland hitting top form. I think we've got to put them to bed. And I think we know what we've got to do. We've got 10 cup finals to go at. And we've done it before and we'll do it again. Arsenal are in the lead. They've got 8 points clear. They've got the advantage. It's for them to lose, but we've just got to do what we do. What we've done for the last 3 or 4 years, just get head down and go for it. We've got some mad games in between. We've got an FA Cup semi-final. We fly back from Bayern Munich. We come back from Bayern Munich on the Thursday, and then we've got the semi-final on the Saturday. We did the same last year, but we had to sacrifice the FA Cup final last year because we didn't have the players. We got kicked to shit in Madrid off Atletico on the Wednesday, and then at Wembley we had to play a patched-up team, and it was poor. And Liverpool beat us in the semi. I don't think that's the case this year. I think with Sheffield United, no disrespect, I think that game gives us a little chance to change it a bit. And I just think we know what we've got to do. If we lose the league to Arsenal, it's not what's happened in this last 10 games for me, because we can win these 10 games. But if Arsenal win their games, they've won it. But early in the season, we didn't quite get going. We dropped sloppy points. But I'm confident, man. I'm confident. I've just got this feeling that both teams are going to drop points, but I've just got this feeling that we're gonna do it.
You're not so worried then about this 8-point gap that they've got. You still think you've got the ability to drag them back. You think that essentially you think that Arsenal will slip up more than you will in this last 10, 11 games?
Yeah, I think so. I've just got a feeling. I just think, listen, we were 8 points behind Man United with 6 games to go, and we won the league. So if what kind of Man City supporter cannot believe that they're going to win the league at 8 points behind with a game in hand, got Arsenal still to play? Do you know, what kind of a fan are you going to be? You've seen it. We've seen it. I've been in this position before. So I'm confident in my team. The fans, the stadium's got a buzz around it. The last few games is a different mentality going into the match now. We've finally seen on the pitch the big fella's clicking into gear at the right time. Diaz is back. Foden's come back from an injury. And listen, we're looking good, man. We're looking perfect for where we need to be. If it was going into this last 10 games up and down like we did middle of the season when I said to you, we keep taking one step forward, two steps back, I wouldn't be as confident. But look at the way we're playing. We smashed Leipzig for 7. We've hit Burnley for 6. You know, we're finally putting a little run together. And when Man City go on a run, you know what happens.
And do you think it will be the pressure you apply to Arsenal that will make them crumble, or do you just think it will be the title running in itself, a young, inexperienced team? Do you think that's what's going to get them, or is it a combination of the two things? The big blue shark, as you would call it, is behind them, and the necessity for them to keep winning. Do you think that might just be a little bit too much for this Arsenal team this season then?
Listen, I just think they've got to do their business and we've got to do ours. If we do our business, I believe we win the league. They're going to be confident on their side, thinking, you know what, we're going to win the league. But they haven't been in this territory for a long time. You know, I said to you before, the pressure's not even started yet. It's not, you know, they crumbled the other day against Sporting Lisbon. Yeah, they crumbled there. So it's like, you know, when it's getting a bit hot in the kitchen, there's a few players I don't think fancy it over there, but we'll see. They might prove me wrong. They might blow us out the water. We might drop a bollock and they win the league. And listen, if Arsenal win the league, there's nobody give them more credit than me. I've been a big fan of Arteta and Arsenal. I know people on this channel don't know because they haven't seen me what I said on the Big Six 2 years ago. But it is what it is. I've got to be confident in my team, Terry. I'm not one of these fans that tries to sugarcoat it and shits myself. I'm confident in my team for a reason. If you was in my position and you'd won 4 out of 5 titles, would you not be confident?
Yeah, listen, I get where your confidence comes from. Let's go to see what some of the viewers here are saying. This here from Bend Over says, we have not slipped up so much this season, and now he thinks we'll drop points for City to pass us. Yeah, I mean, it's what he thinks. Chat, say why you're not. You're laughing at it, but at least challenge Steve with why he doesn't think that. This says we can drop 8 points and win the league, in my opinion. That is what an Arsenal fan thinks. He thinks that if they drop 8 points, they're still going to have enough to beat you.
We'll see.
Unfortunately, points on the board trumps game in hand, is what the beautiful game says. Do you agree with that notion? That I personally believe that. Do you think you'd rather be 8 points clear than have to catch Arsenal?
Yeah, of course. You always want to be clear. You always want the points on the board. But listen, I'm telling them about this pressure. There's not an Arsenal fan in this chat now that's probably seen Arsenal win that league, unless there's a few older guys in there. You know, a lot of the Arsenal fans I speak to, the AFTV boys and that, the younger ones, they're not seeing it. And I tell them, trust me what's coming, man. You know, trust me what's coming. And there's a lot of shit being said about them. You know, apparently it's a one-horse race, one of them said the other day. And listen, I'm not calling all Arsenal fans. The other week when I said Arsenal fans said we was built different, and they were all like, no one said that. They did say that. I'm talking about the AFTV boys, the ones that are on the platform. They said it. So all I'm saying is it's coming to that time of the season now where you've got to put your money where your mouth is. Yeah, you put your bollocks on the line. And at the end of the season, we see who wins it. And I'm just saying, I'm not one of these fans that, you know, won't give Arsenal any credit. I give them 100% credit because what they've done this season is fantastic. The team they've got, the energy, I love to see it. It's great, you know what I mean? But I'm backing my own team. They said, you beat us in the FA Cup because we made changes. Wait till you come to the Emirates. We'll see what happens at the Emirates. All right, then. And we've seen what happened at the Emirates. But apparently then I'm not allowed to celebrate that because I'm scared and, you know, Big Steve's frightened. He's talking about Sharks. There's only one fan base frightened, yeah? It's the one leading by 8 points. They're the ones who are doing all the talking. After this show, Terry, the comments will be full of Arsenal fans saying Big Steve's scared and he doesn't know what he's doing. But you won't see any City fans chatting in there because they're not asked. We're just ready for it. We're buckling down for the title. We're putting our tin hats on and we're having it. And if they ain't got the bottle, they'll bottle it.
This here says, I feel like Arteta has been preparing Arsenal for pressure. Last season's results was a hard lesson for everyone. Daniel disagreeing here, thinking that they are built for this. Guna Duke says, City have won 4 out of 5, have experience, great squad, great manager. We are told a lot and fair. Arsenal are the underdogs, manager's first job, youngsters, youngest team in the Premier League. If you're second, will it be embarrassing?
How can it be embarrassing? So if we finish second, we've still won 4 out of 6 Premier Leagues. We're in the Champions League and the FA Cup. Don't talk shit. It's not embarrassing, is it? Because what's embarrassing is last season you was nailed on for the Champions League and you ended up in the Europa. That was embarrassing, but nobody said out about it. So it is what it is. Chelsea finishing fucking 10th, that's embarrassing. Liverpool going from the quad down to 9th, that's embarrassing. But Man City dropping from 1st to 2nd in a title race, in a transitional season, it is what it is.
Look, yeah, I don't think it'll be embarrassing because I think this Arsenal team is damn good, and I think they'll have I still predict they'll have enough to see themselves through. I did enjoy Julian's comments though, as you mentioned on AFTV, where he said, and he's very carefully worded it, that he said if you just look at the maths, it looks like a one-horse race because they're 8 points clear. And I understand where he's coming from. The problem is, even though I'm predicting Arsenal to win the league, you can't write City off like that. You can't be talking one-horse races at this point. Would you say that's a little bit premature?
It's just, I mean, you've got to take what Julian says with a pinch of salt, innit, really, because, he's up and down like a yo-yo. So it's his opinion. He's entitled to it. I respect him in somewhat because he's showing a little bit of chest and he's having it. I've got to respect that. But it's just mad over there because they're already getting their excuses ready in case they fail. Because if Arsenal lose the league, instead of turning around and saying, you know what, we didn't expect to be here, we took it as close as we can, but we lost. It'll always be, you spent £1 billion, you signed Haaland, we was never expected to win the league anyway. We've got the youngest squad in the world. We've got the biggest hot dogs in London, the brightest floodlights. We've got better seats than you. And we've got a fucking Ashburton army that stand under a bridge with a load of fucking disco lights every game. So, you're ready for that shit anyway. You know what I mean? Arsenal, for 20 years, never seen this Ashburton army. The season they're going for the title, there's a load of guys in balaclavas think the CSKA in Moscow now. So I don't know where they came from, but, so there's a lot of mad shit going on at Arsenal, innit? But you can't hide what went on before. We know you've been there. We've never seen these dudes before. They were a bit quiet when the third went in at the Emirates. The flags came down, the big flags, they just came down slow and then they all fucked off. But at the end of the day, I'm ready for it, man. It might rattle them. They might get upset. I don't care. You're a precious bunch. It's a bit, I know it's a bit, getting a bit pressure on you and that, but don't worry about it. You'll be able to go to school with your head held up high, even if you finish second.
Yeah, the Ashburton army, I swear I saw a picture of it. It is a bunch of like 16 to 19-year-olds. It's like, it's not grown men. It's like kids. I love that sort of stuff. I love it.
It's great, man. I love all that shit. But what I'm saying is, where was you when you was like, struggling a bit when the team needed the Ashburton army, when the stadium was half empty and you were trying to get Arsene Wenger out? Where was the energy? Or does that just turn up when they're going for the league? This is keep it consistent, innit? You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying.
It's like Liverpool fans. When they like sometimes they clap the coach in. Why are you not doing that to like Burnley at home in a November? Why is it only when you were like about to win titles? Oh, look how great our fans are. You weren't doing that when you weren't challenging for Premier Leagues. That would be great support. Not when like it's easy. Sometimes it's easier to support your team in the good times than it is the bad times. But I hear you there. Look, listen, I think Arsenal fans are getting their excuses in because there's also a lot of excuses being made in the other direction. Like all year, it's only pre-season. Yes, you've won 5 games, but who have you beat? When United beat them, you'll crumble. They didn't. Let's see how you cope with 2 games per week when the Europa League starts. They cope fine. Let's see how you react after the World Cup. Let's see what happens if a major player gets out. Jesus out.
Every single thing that's been thrown at Arsenal this season, they've overcome it. So they're in a great position. But what I'm trying to say is, let's just have it toe to toe to the end of the season. I think in football now, it's all about, instead of letting the football do the talking and we have a title race and we respect each other at the end and say, you know what, you beat us, you're a better side. It's all bullshit about little niggly things about you're this and you've said this and you've spent that and we can't do that because he's older than you and he's younger than you and Saka's better. It's all crap. At the end of the day, the end of May, when match of the day finishes and it shows you the picture of one of the captains lifting the trophy, if it's got red and white ribbons on it, then fair play to you. If it's got blue and white ribbons on it, then fair play to us. That's how I'm approaching it.
Mate, I agree. There is very little sort of like humbleness when it comes to defeat. There's nearly always an excuse, or you did it because of X, Y, or Z. If Arsenal don't win it, it's just because City have been a better team than them this season. It doesn't even matter if Arsenal have been the better team for 37 games. If by the end of 38 games, City are ahead of them, that's the way the cookie crumbles, as far as I'm concerned. Eye test and stats and points totals all mean nothing if you're not the champions. You know, like Liverpool fans all those years ago wanting a trophy for second place because no second place team had ever had 97 points. I'm like, well, that's not how competition works. If me and you have a 100-meter sprint race, not that me and you could do this, and we both break the world record, but I come second, I don't get a gold medal as well, just because I also broke the world record when I crossed the line. Like, it doesn't make sense. This here says he's thinking Arsenal will slip up, but City will have a perfect 11 remaining games. What logic is that?
Listen, we had to win 14 games to catch Liverpool. We had to win them. No draws, we had to win them. And we won all 14. So we've done it before. So there's the logic in that. We've got a game in hand. So if we win, it takes it to 5. We've got to play you at the Etihad. So if we beat you there, it's 2. So you only need to slip up once in that running and us go perfect. And we've won it. But that's what I'm saying. You win all your games, you win the league. We win all ours, I believe we win the league. That's why I said, let's just have it. None of the nonsense, tit for tat bullshit. I'm confident in my team, not arrogant. I'm confident. I'm a champion. My team's got gold badges on the arms of the shirts. So we're champions for a reason. So I'm ready for it. We've got the Champions League to fight for. Tough draw. We've got the FA Cup semi-final again. Hopefully a final. So life's okay on our side. We're happy with it. But, you know, let's just go with it.
Yeah, and hopefully a final against us. That'd be a nice final, wouldn't it? Manchester derby in the FA Cup final would be beautiful.
I think that's probably going to happen, to be honest.
I hope so. I mean, we definitely needed a break. I think the international break came at the right time for us because we were kind of flagging. And I think we just I know a lot of our players will be international duty, but sometimes a change is as good as a rest, and I just think we needed it. This super chat here says we need City to win the league so that we can cook the hell out of Arsenal fans, disregarding trophies outside the league, saying they are meaningless. But I think those individual fans have written off the other trophies as being Mickey Mouse, unimportant. If you don't go and win what you're aiming for, you will be laughed at. And I think that's why certain gooners, like Jess as an example, will hold her head up high because she was angry at going out of those competitions and said they were important. There are some that I've seen that are like, don't care about FA Cups, don't care about Europa Leagues, don't care about League Cups. They're meaningless. Those individuals will definitely be looked at.
Listen, for one, I wouldn't cook anyone. Me and Grizz went at it and for the Liverpool thing. And when we beat Liverpool, you won't find me winding Liverpool fans up. I got hundreds of DMs a day when we're in the title race with Liverpool. And then when we won it, we've won it. So there's no need for me to start mouthing off. I'm not that kind of guy. If Arsenal win it, I'll give them 100% credit because they deserve it. They fully deserve it. But if Manchester City win it, we fully deserve it. But there's a lot of twists and turns to go yet, Terry. You know, we don't know what's around the corner for both teams. We just don't know. You can take a mad sending off in a game. It could take an injury in a game. You just don't know. So, you know, I'm ready for it, man.
I bet you are. Lee here says, same fans who said Mickey Mouse Cups claimed a community shield as part of a double. Yes, I know. Terry knows he ain't winning the FA Cup. Listen, a one-off game against City, we can beat them. I'm not saying we will, but we can beat City. We've beaten them this year once.
Wigan beat us, Terry. Wigan beat us in the FA Cup final.
Exactly, yeah. Like, of course, I'd rather get Sheffield United. Like, yeah, I'd rather Sheffield United in the final, but look, a Manchester derby final is huge. You know, it's absolutely
Brighton, mate. Brighton are a good side.
Listen, I'm not even looking past them yet. Like, I want the derby, but in terms of that game, Brighton, if on current form, I think they'd beat us. Let's see how we're both playing in like 3 weeks' time, 4 weeks' time, and that game happens. But yeah, you can't write them off. Peter Baker here says, at the end of the season, I will be proud of my football club, whether we come first or second. No one expected us to be here. It will come down to the final day. Mark my words. Let's just enjoy.
That's a good chat because he knows, doesn't he? Look, he's a sensible guy. He's proud of his team. and he's proud whether what happens. And I'm the same as me, but I get accused of being arrogant. But I'm just proud of my team. I'm ready for it, and he's ready for it. So let's make the best team win. And like you say, match of the day, last one of the season. At the end, we'll see who's lifting the cup.
Absolutely. Terry, I don't know, but I have a feeling that Jude Bellingham would turn into Chillingham, like Sancho turned into Scamcho in the Premier League this season. I don't think so under the manager we've got and the new regime that are coming in, but I understand what you're saying there. Grealish has been one hell of a player this season.
He's played well, man. He has. Underrated.
Luke Chadwick, he's been impressive the last few weeks. He's getting better, Luke Chadwick. I tell you that. He's getting better. He's better looking than Luke. He's definitely better looking than Luke. Jesus Christ. In fairness to Luke Chadwick, he's got better looking with age. He looks a lot better now. He's grown. This guy is just talking rubbish and just being rude and disrespectful to what Arsenal was done this season. If Arsenal had fraud like City on oil money, they would have won 10 Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues, is what Alex Kim says to you here, Steve.
Yeah, it's actually rubbish, not rubbish. And don't talk shit, mate. Come on. I'll just give Arsenal the flowers. I've told you the pros and cons of winning and losing it, and I keep saying it. Let's see what happens. Don't worry about it. But thanks for the super chat anyway. Cheers. We'll get a drink, coffee or something on
that. Lee Gunner here says Terry hates Grealish, top players who could have played in any era. I don't hate Grealish. I actually like Jack Grealish. I like his vibe. I like the kind of person he is. I even like what he is as a footballer. I'm just judging him at the elite end of the spectrum, and I want to see. Listen, and it's like I put Phil Foden above him because Phil Foden can do a lot of the same things. He's equally as technically gifted, but he just scores and assists more. And I think all attackers should be expected to score and assist more. So it's not about me hating Jack Grealish. I want to see more from him on a footballing basis, but it's not about hating him. I'd love listen, if City wanted to sell him next week and Man United win for him, I'd be buzzing. I think he's a really good footballer, but I want to see him deliver more.
There's a super chat there that just said, did Steve go to Macclesfield away? This guy don't know me. These guys don't know me, do they?
No.
I've been home and away since 1989. Yeah, 1989. I've had a season ticket since 89. I've got one of the most loyalty points at Manchester City Football Club. Yeah, 27,500, and you get 10 or 20 a game. Yeah, so that's how many games I've been to. So that's how many places I go. Every single game, home, away, Europe, pre-season friendlies, tours, I go to them all. So if you want me to dig out the Macclesfield away programme or the ticket stub just for you to have a look at, I'll probably find it somewhere. But I've got a fucking lot, so it might take me a few weeks. You know what I mean?
Might take you a while. Absolutely. Viewers, make sure like buttons are being hit. Make sure you're subscribing to The Terrace. Question for you. We've got the poll running right now. Who would you sign in their peak? Ozil or KDB?
Me?
Yeah. I know that's a hard one for you as a City fan, but
I think, listen, you're going to get... what you got to realise is with Ozil, yeah, he was a great player, yeah, fantastic player, done some unbelievable things on the pitch. I think he scored a goal against Ludogorets or something one day, magical goal. But he was in an Arsenal team at the time that was shit. Yeah. So to them, he was a shining light. So all Arsenal fans adored him. To them, he was undroppable. They always backed him. Fantastic player. Kevin De Bruyne, yeah, has played in Manchester City teams with world-class players like Yaya Toure, David Silva, and he shines. Yeah. Mesut Ozil plays in them teams with David Silva, Yaya Toure. He don't shine. He don't get a game. He's on the bench. So that's the difference. Kevin De Bruyne is by far better than Mesut Ozil, and David Silva is even better than him, and Yaya Toure, if you want to throw another one in the mix, is better than him. So if you want to cry and cling on to Mesut Ozil, I think Georgie Kinkladze was a great player. You know what I mean? Because in my day we were shit and Kinkladze was magical. But I'm not going to start throwing him in with the big boys and saying he's better than Scholes and that. So it is what it is. All the Arsenal fans will say Ozil. All the City fans will say Kevin De Bruyne. But anyone with half a brain who watches football will tell you Kevin De Bruyne. Anyone that plays FIFA and used to watch Arsenal in the Ozil days and when they were shit will tell you Ozil. So that's about all you need to know, really.
Do you know what's interesting about it? By the way, I rate both players very highly. I think both were world-class football players at their absolute peak. A lot of people will say, and I've seen it in the comments, but peak Ozil was Madrid's Ozil. So that was like 21 to 20.
They sold him, though, innit? They sold him.
They sold him because they
don't sell your best players.
They sold him because they bought Isco and they wanted to move Di Maria in centrally. So Real Madrid thought that Isco and Di Maria collectively were a better option. So they got rid of him in his pomp. And the only team in Europe who wanted him was at the time, a failing Arsenal. That tells me a lot about not the ability of the player, but maybe something relating to his mentality, which is why he doesn't have what KDB is getting and going to go on to have, which is longevity, which is why by the age of around 28, 29, Ozil was practically finished because he didn't have the mentality. He had all the attributes. He had the eye test. He had the ability. He had the statistical output. But KDB has already surpassed him on statistical output. KDB has been a better big game performer. And KDB has been integral in delivering 4 Premier League titles and multiple domestic trophies. Now, KDB still got to win a European Cup of some type. But in comparing the two, Ozil doesn't have a single European trophy, and he's won 1 league title. And the question that got put out by ESPN today was, who would you sign at their peak? So this isn't about their international careers. This is because you can't sign anybody internationally. This is about their club careers. And as great as a player as I think Ozil was, too many football fans nowadays are sort of bewitched by the eye test and ability and how great someone looks. That isn't the key factor. The key factor is, how did they deliver for the team that they were in and what did they win? That is such a big factor. What did their goals and their assists lead to? What did their performances generate? And I see that the final defense you always get is, well, he played for a bad Arsenal team. KDP is playing for a brilliant City team. Well, 2 years into your Arsenal career, leave. We all knew 2 years into his Arsenal career, Arsenal weren't good enough. So leave. Join a better club. This notion that footballers, the only time where the team you play for is uncontrollable is nationality based. When you're playing for Arsenal and they're not good enough, you're 25, 26, leave. Go to a club that can win. Go to a club that you can deliver those major trophies in, because that's where the real winning is. And for me, as talented as Ozil was, if you're saying, right, you can have a 24-year-old or a 24-year-old KDB or a 24-year-old Ozil, knowing what we know, which is hindsight now, who's got the better longevity, who's better statistically, who delivers in the big games, who will help you win more major trophies, everybody would pick KDB. On Twitter, they'll say Ozil, because saying Ozil and saying that's because I know ball and you don't, it's what the hipsters do. It's a cooler option. It's a more fashionable option because Ozil is probably more popular from a social media point of view. But in actuality, in real life, in real games, in actual team football, it's not about who the better individual is, who the funkier guy is, who's got the most followers on Instagram. It's who's going to deliver for you. And KDB is a better player. He's a better footballer, and he has a greater legacy, especially at club level football. Because for me, Ozil is underwhelming at club level. 1 league title with no European trophies. When some people say he's a legend of the game, no legend of the game domestically only has 1 league title. Have
you ever heard any ex-pros put him in a Premier League team of the century or anything like that? Has he ever been in any of them conversations? Never.
No. And listen, I get it's what I mean by footballing legends. Like Alan Shearer is a Premier League top goal scorer. He's won a Premier League. But he wouldn't go in. He ain't in the top 10 strikers of all time, like a legend. He isn't, because he didn't do it enough. But if he'd have won 5 or 6 Prems, some European Cups, trust me, you'd be in those conversations. I think Ozil, ability-wise, is great. But I couldn't believe what I was reading today. People saying they would pick him in a team over KDB. Shocking to me. Absolutely shocking football knowledge. In fact, it tells me you're not even watching football. It's all about our individual ability, or it's not about individuality in football is overrated. It's about how good somebody is in a team. It's crazy for me. This here says 1 year peak Ozil, real life sign KDB. You'd sign, yeah, exactly. In real life, you'd sign KDB if you had the option. You would never pick Ozil over him. I'm an Arsenal fan, but when you know football, KDB all day long. Is this the City fan who was convinced City were going to win the Premier League some weeks ago and was exactly... Sorry, we'll come back to that one in a minute because we're not kind of on that conversation right now. I'll just start that one for a little bit later. Yeah, for me, it's not even a debate. They fancied him, Terry. They don't fancy KDB. But do you know what's mad about it, though? This is the same. The Arsenal fan defending him is crazy. If Arsenal win the league, they are all going to rate Martin Odegaard over Ozil. They're going to talk about better, they're going to talk about better legacy. They're going to talk about... They will start to go, yeah, but he hasn't got... His stats aren't as good, but he captained and led us to winning a trophy. When your team wins, when your favorite player or your club is winning major trophies, that is the pinnacle. As soon as it comes to a player that didn't win enough of the major trophies at club level, or a team that doesn't win enough of the trophies, suddenly fan bases, Liverpool did it with Gerrard, Spurs fans do it all the time with everything related to their club, suddenly winning trophies is almost seen as like a category within debate that shouldn't be entered. It's a team sport, Terry, and we're talking about an individual, so trophies are irrelevant. But Arsenal fans will use Odegaard captaining Arsenal to a Premier League title as a tangible reason as to why he's better than other players. You know, as a United fan, I'm consistent. Bruno Fernandes holds the record for the most goals scored and most goal contributions from a midfield player who plays for an English club ever in a single season. No midfielder ever in English football for 140 years has scored as many goals as Bruno did in a single season. But he won no trophies, so even Man United fans don't celebrate it. But by the logic here being placed of Ozil versus KDB, one can be better than the other because he might look better or he might have better statistics at one particular season. It's crazy. It's about the holy quad for me. Ability, outputs, longevity and consistency, and the amount of trophies you win or the size of the trophies you win. That is how you judge a player's legacy for me, not just one of those attributes. It's crazy. And let's just agree. Ozil's better than him on ability. Well, KDB out-trumps him on all the other three. So it's do you know what I mean? It's honestly, it's crazy to me. If we're talking prime, Ozil surely edges it. But based on Danny K, let me ask you this question. Based on what, though? Like, when people say he edges it, on what? I've given you tangible reasons as to why he doesn't. So did Steve. Why would you pick Ozil? Barring he looked better, which isn't... No one judges football on how good someone looks. We judge people on how good they are. And I want to make this rain home to you. R9, Zidane, Ronaldinho, Messi are not rated because they look good. They're rated because they deliver consistently for their teams. And they win major things. People think the eye test is why they were so brilliant. No, they passed the test because they delivered. If Messi looked like Messi but didn't score or assist or win anything, he wouldn't be Messi. KDB, if he didn't deliver, score and assist and win things, he wouldn't be KDB. He would literally... It'd be somebody else. So I'm not having to go, Danny K, but please tell me why. I need to understand why. So players during a club's transition period were basically punching bags. I don't know what you mean. I don't know what you mean by that, my friend. Someone here said you literally said prime. Yeah, I did say in their prime, but if you're picking Ozil, you still need to explain why in their prime. Why would you sign Ozil in his peak over KDB? What was Ozil doing in his peak that KDB wasn't doing? And peak isn't one season. Peak's a handful of years, right? So what is it he was doing that KDB wasn't? That is what I'm asking for. And so far today, nobody has given me a tangible answer. They just say you don't know ball. That's not an argument. That means shit. You've got me and I don't know what to say. So I'm going to insult you instead. Ozil, one of the best natural attacking midfielders you'll see generational, still holds the highest record for created chances in a league at Madrid. He was crazy, but KDB had the better career. Yeah, but why do you have the better career? Because he's better. Yeah, I mean, you just literally the end of it. Yeah, he's better. He's better. The way I would look at it is this: if I run the 100 meters and got the world record, but I never won an Olympic or a world championship gold, but I got the world record at a diamonds meeting, I wouldn't have the greatest legacy in the game. Do you know what I mean? The gold medal winners would. Is this? We'll go back to that one in a minute. There, this here's. Oh, sorry. I don't know. I'm just a bit confused personally, but maybe that's just me. Slightly disrespectful to Ozil. It's not disrespectful to Ozil. I'm not saying he's a bad player. I'm just saying KDB was better. He's also won the World Cup. You mentioned Dino and R9. They were at top for 6 years max. That's not longevity. Well, that's why I put Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo above them, because they've got the longevity over them. But we're not comparing Ronaldinho to KDB. That wasn't what everybody was talking about on socials today. So again, horses for courses. If you want to have that debate, we can have that one there, my friend. But there we go. This here says, is this the same City fan who was convinced City were going to win the Premier League some weeks ago and was extremely disregarding Arsenal's level?
When did I say? I've never degraded Arsenal's level. I was a City fan that said City was going to win the league, yeah, because I believed that. And I've always... The thing is, you can't say anything good. You can spend a show telling these Arsenal fans how good they've played, yeah? And you can say one thing in the last 5 minutes that they don't like and fucking all hell breaks loose. So it is what it is. I think City's going to win the league. I think you've done well. And we'll see at the end of the season. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I love this. Some of these comments. Terry's downfall is tragic. Again, that's not an argument, my friend. Terry, move on. You're embarrassing yourself. That's not an argument, my friend. That is Patrick. You know, everyone knows that when you say that, it's because you've lost and you've got to insult. This is my favorite one. Terry, if you think KDB is better because he's had a better career, is the most childish thing you will ever hear. So I'm childish for thinking somebody with a better career is better at that job than a person with a worse career. So I'm wrong for thinking Usain Bolt is a better sprinter than Dwayne Chambers because he had a better career than Dwayne Chambers. Am I wrong to think that Fergie is a better manager than Wenger because he had a better career than Wenger? Why would that be embarrassing for me, bro? I'm confused. I loved Ozil. KDB is clear as an Arsenal fan. He gave me good and bad memories. His attitude after the 4-1 in Baku stunk. Disappointing Arsenal career. I agree with you. And Arsenal signed him in his peak. So I completely agree with you on that, my friend. I really, really do. I really, really do. Big up Terry, Man United fan from Istanbul. Big up yourself, my friend. Hope you're well and safe in Turkey. Hope you're doing good. Terry, did you see the fella on AFTV saying winning the Premier League is bigger than winning the Champions League? I did. What do you think of that, Steve? Is it?
Listen, if a Manchester City fan says that, then all they say is, yeah, because you never won the Champions League. So if we won the Champions League and we said it was better than the Premier League, if we didn't win the Premier League, they'd say, yeah, but you didn't win the Premier League. So it is what it is. I've never won the Champions League. I've won the Premier League and I've celebrated it like mad. When I win the Champions League, I'll tell you how it feels. But until that day, I won't know. So I don't know. I think people saying that, if a United fan said that, then I know certain pros, Roy Keane, Gary Neville, Scholes said that they prefer winning the Premier League than the Champions League. They said that. So they've got a right to say that because they've lived it. So I think that's because it's 38 games. It's a tough season. You get to the end, you win a trophy. I think in the Champions League, anything can happen. But I don't know. It's all that nonsense in it about, I don't know, this is better than that. And everyone trying to get one up on each other. You've never won the Champions League, so it doesn't matter. If City won the Premier League, we had to win it twice. If you don't win it twice or you don't win it 3 times, you're not as good as... There's always something. So when we win the Champions League, I'll come on here and I'll tell you what felt better.
Do you know what, though? The way Julian worded it was wrong. So he says the biggest accomplishment in world football. It's the hardest league. If winning the league is the hardest thing to do, I can understand that. I think it's worded poorly. Saying that the Champions League is a glorified cup competition is terrible because it is the biggest cup competition in the world for clubs. It's a massive thing to win the Champions League. Based on your draw in the Champions League, it can be easier to win your domestic league. It can be easier to win your domestic trophy. The year Man United won the Champions League in 1999, as an example, we had a group with Barcelona and Bayern in, and I think we played peak Juve, peak Bayern Munich in the knockout stages. That's exceedingly difficult. But winning leagues is 38 games of consistency. It is the pinnacle of consistency. Sometimes a team that comes third, fourth, fifth, sixth in the Premier League can win a Champions League. You can get good draws. You can peak at different times of the season. So I agree. It's harder to win the Premier League, in my opinion. In terms of size, they're both massive. And as a Man United fan, I want to win more Champions Leagues now than I do leagues because I want to catch Liverpool in that area. But that's me being that's me having the luxury of being picky with it, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think winning the league is harder. But what I don't do, and I don't like what Julian did with it, is disregard the Champions League like it's just a glorified nothing competition. That for me is crazy, considering how mad you all went for winning the FA Cup like 3 or 4 times in the last few years. Because if the Champions League is a glorified cup competition, what the hell does that make the FA Cup or the League Cup? It's crazy. But yeah, it's definitely hard to win. So harder to win the league. I agree with that. This here says KDB over Ozil as an Arsenal fan. Stop the cat people. I agree with you. Super proud of my Gunners, no matter what happens. But of course, we're going to be nervous relative to City. 20 years in the mid versus 4 or 5 titles. I think that's very fair there from Ali, to be fair. I think he's speaking sense.
Yeah.
This here says you still think City are winning the league, and Terry, prime is a short period, and you're using longevity as an argument. See, this is where you've caught yourself out, my friend. KDB's peak and prime has lasted about 5 to 6 years. And somebody with a 5 to 6 year peak period that's on par with Ozil's peak in terms of numbers, creativity, goals being scored, makes it better. You know, I would rather a 9 out of 10 player for 6 years than somebody be a 10 out of 10 for 1 year and 6s and 7 out of 10s all the others. The consistency is key, my friend. It's why Messi and Ronaldo are unchallenged as the greatest 2 players ever, in my opinion, because I think you could argue at peaks R9 and Ronaldinho, Zidane, in my lifetime and era, you could argue their peaks were maybe higher than some of those players. Some people would, but none of them have the longevity that Messi and Ronaldo have. Longevity at the highest level is the epitome of consistency. The epitome of consistency is what world-class is. So, my friend, being peak. So, yeah, for me, you've proven KDB is better, in my opinion. This here says, why did Sir Alex only win 2? Listen, and that's the thing. The United were unlucky a few times. Go back to the 90s with the fact that certain the level of English players that we had to have in teams. And when we hit a really good period of getting into finals, we came up against one of the best Barcelona teams. Not just best Barcelona teams of all time. We came up against one of the best football teams of all time. In 100 years' time, that Barcelona team will still be spoken about by everyone on planet Earth watching football. Had we have played somebody else in those 2 finals, he might have walked away with 4. But sometimes these things happen. So I do get your point, but I winning the league is very hard. It's different. Knockout football, you can have like a bad 2-3 weeks in football and be knocked out of a cup competition because you're in bad form. That bad 2 or 3 weeks doesn't stop you from winning the league because you've got time to recover. That's the difference between cup football. Happened to Liverpool. You know, the season they won the league, they had their little blip just before lockdown, didn't they? Where they got knocked out by Atletico. Everton beat them. They lost to Watford in the league. But before and after that, they were pretty much flawless. And I think that just happens sometimes, my friend. But it's a great challenge, to be fair with you. I think that's all the super chats done. I didn't want to miss any of them. Thank you. Steve, always a pleasure to speak to you, my friend, and get your insight on what's going on. I'm sure we'll speak next week as we build up for the return of the Premier League. Obviously, I'm not looking forward to this weekend. It's going to be very quiet.
I'm going to the England game, I think, on Sunday. So,
oh, nice.
Ukraine. So I'm going to go there, I think. So, is what it is.
Sweet as. Listen, you look after yourself, mate. Viewers, hit the like button, subscribe, and click the bell notifications before you go. Take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again soon. Thank you.